everyone, and welcome to the Graceologie with Gwen Smith podcast. I'm Gwen Smith, and I am so glad you've joined me today. Around here, we have fun, faith-focused, grace-filled conversations, all to help you know and trust God more. Our discussions are honest, often humorous, and always practical. And they're going to encourage you in meaningful ways to live out and lean on the grace of Jesus in the midst of cluttered, messy days. You got any of those? I know I do, and I can't wait to get to today's conversation, which is all about doing what matters and living well. My guest is Kendra Adachi. Kendra is a popular blogger, a podcast host, and the author of a new best-selling book called The Lazy Genius Way. The chorus of shoulds is loud. You should enjoy the moment, dream big, have it all, get up before the sun, track your water consumption, go on date nights, and be the best. Or maybe you should ignore what people think, live on dry shampoo, be a negligent PTA mom, have a dirty house, and claim your hot mess like a badge of honor. Either way, it is so easy to feel overwhelmed by the mixed messages of what it means to live well. Today, Kendra invites you to live well by your own definition, according to the way God designed you. And she equips you to be a genius about what matters and lazy about what doesn't. We talk about a better way to approach your relationships, work, and piles of mail. You are really going to love this episode, guys. Hey guys, I just want to say a quick thank you to all of you in the Graceologie community who have rated the show on iTunes or who have written a short review. It makes such a big difference. So if you happen to be listening and you've not yet done it, I would really appreciate it if you would. Would you click your podcast app or go visit iTunes and give us a 5-star rating or just a quick one-sentence review? From my heart, it would really mean a lot. Well, hello, Kendra. I am super excited to have you on the Graceologie podcast today. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Gwen.
Absolutely. Hey, girl. Well, we always start our conversations around here with a fast, fun favorites round to get to know you in a girlfriendy kind of way. So are you game?
Oh, I'm so game for games. It's crazy. Yes, let's do this.
All right. Kendra, are you a listener or a talker?
Oh, man. I want to say, golly day, the first one, probably a talker. I'm probably a talker. I'm working on being a better listener. That's important. Listening is important. Then I'm a talker.
I love you. Okay. What is your go-to makeup item?
Ooh, May Lindstrom's Honey Mud.
What is that?
It's like it's the worst because she had to reformulate it and take it off the market, and I legit cried tears when it happened. It's this like jar. It smells like spicy mud. I don't know, and it's like you can use it as a mask or a cleanser, or like if I was on an island and it was the only thing that I had for my skin for the rest of my life, I would pick it. It's like my favorite thing in the entire world.
Okay,
it's pricey, but it's so good.
Okay, you must send me a link and I will put it in the show notes.
Fantastic.
Perfect. Okay. Kendra, who is your favorite character from Parks and Rec?
Oh, man. An impossible question. They're all so good. I think Ron. Actually, not I think. I know. It's Ron. It's Ron.
Love Ron too. Okay.
I love Ron.
Perfect. Who was your first celebrity crush?
Dean Cain in the New Adventures of Lois and Clark. Very aggressively, like poster on the wall, the whole nine.
I love it. Okay, here we go. I know you love to cook. Cilantro, yes or no?
Oh, hard yes, for sure.
Okay, perfect. Yes. Same. Okay, Kendra, would you rather go 30 days without your phone or an entire life without dessert?
Oh my gosh, 30 days without my phone. I would go my entire life without my phone before I went 30 days without dessert.
Oh, okay.
No, dessert is way more important to me than my phone.
Okay, perfect. Our mutual friend Jen Schmidt told me to ask you this question. Do you play an instrument?
I do. Not very well. I don't know what Jen wants to set me up for. No, I play guitar and piano, but just well enough to sort of look like what I know what I'm doing. But beyond that, not really.
That is exactly the same for me. Okay, perfect. All right, on a scale of 1 to 10, how good are you at quoting movie lines?
Very much a 10.
Oh, girl.
Like, it's not even movie lines. It's like the whole script. Like, depending on the movie, I can take you on a journey.
Oh my goodness, I love that so much. Okay, what worship song are you currently like hitting replay for?
The Balm of Gilead by Mike Crawford and his secret siblings. That is my favorite song right now.
Got it. And the final question in your Fast Fun Favorites round is, what person from the Bible do you connect with most and why?
Oh, man. I don't know. I've always been kind of like sometimes this is a good thing, sometimes it's not, but I've always been more of an aspirational person. Like I'm wanting to be like someone else rather than, naming what it is about myself that is maybe not so great or great that I'm seeing in someone else. But I always loved the story of Ruth. I think it was just more because there weren't very many women in the Bible.
Yeah.
And I thought that Ruth was like, I don't know. I just always appreciated her selflessness. And back to your first question about talking and listening, I feel like Ruth was a good listener. And she just sort of embodied a lot of things that I don't know that I necessarily find to be easy to do in my own natural wiring. So I always loved Ruth. Anytime anybody wanted to talk about Ruth, I was here for it.
Well, let's go with Ruth. I like that answer. That's a great answer. And I had an absolute blast in your Fast Fun Favorites round. I do feel like I know you in a more girlfriendy way, so yay. Now, for the sake of my Graceology listening community, can you go ahead and introduce yourself formally to my people?
I can. So my name is Kendra Adachi. My husband is Japanese, but I'm Kendra Adachi, and I run, host, write all the things at the Lazy Genius Collective. I have a podcast called the Lazy Genius Podcast. And the whole point of my work is to help people be a genius about the things that matter and lazy about the things that don't. I think too often we're trying to be a genius at the wrong things. We're spinning our wheels in the wrong direction in things that don't really matter to us, or we're so tired that we're lazy about things that we do care about. We've just run out of energy or time or motivation or whatever it is. So I just really want to help women and people. I have like maybe 5 dudes who listen to my podcast, so I will hold on to them. It's great. It's great. But I really do just want to help people name what matters to them and then live a full life after that.
I love it. And speaking of the 5 dudes, this was hilarious. For my listeners, you don't have this book yet because it's not out yet, but it's coming soon. But she does these little call outs in her writing. It's hilarious. In fact, I have determined in my heart, Kendra, that you're the Melanie Shankle of organizational and priority kind of stuff.
That is a high compliment because Melanie is a funny chick.
She's a funny chick, but so are you. And that's what I loved about reading your book, because I struggle with organization. I'm more scattered, very big picture, visionary, artsy person. But I was like, oh my glory, I had to keep laughing out loud. And so one of the call outs that she said, swinging back around to the 5 dudes, is that she was at one point saying, so listen, we Christian women struggle with this. And then she had an asterisk. And at the bottom of the page, she goes, if you're a dude, please let this inform your understanding of how women are often wired and the pressures we often feel during the culture that we're a part of. And also, thank you for reading this book, even though I'm unashamedly always using female pronouns. I was just like, oh my gosh, I love her. It was so much
I want
fun.
them to know why they're being excluded from this narrative.
I appreciate that. Okay, you are the big mama of this whole genre of Christian books.
Again, I will take that.
Exactly. Well, and another thing that was super cool, another Graceology connection, if you will, is that your foreword is written by your good friend, Emily P. Freeman, who has also been on the Graceology podcast. So yay.
It's a shame she's not a lovely human. You know, it's so sad. No, Emily's one of the delights of my life. And it was just the best thing to have her words in the beginning of this book. Like, if there's something really special about having your best friend's name on the cover of your first book. Like, it's really, really cool.
Well, and what's cool is the story she tells, because even with when you were just getting to know each other, you know, and the story that she tells, it's just this, I get you, I'm here for you friendship. And that's such a beautiful thing. And for those of you who are listening and you don't know who Melanie Shankle or Emily P. Freeman is, first of all, climb out from that rock you're under. But then second of all, check out the episodes they were in. So Melanie was episode 85 and Emily was episode 26. And I will put links in the show notes to both of those so you can hang out with all of us and just have a lot of fun. So yeah, very cool. Very cool. So Emily starts off with this great, oh man, what an awesome story she tells of you. See, it's good to have friends who tell complimentary stories of you.
Agreed. She could have told others, I'm sure, that were maybe less complimentary. But, I do think that there's something really special about friendships where there's just no pretense.
Yeah.
And there's not an expectation to be a certain way. We have enough of that heaviness just being people out in the world. And so it's just such a gift to have friends and to, let people into your life to see you in your craziest, most upside down situations where you don't know the answers to things and that they still love you. And it's not even, this is something I've actually been learning lately. You did not ask this question, but I'm going to answer my own question. I've been learning this thing just in the last few days, actually. It was a huge revelation to me where I tend to think that the people in my life and the Lord too love me despite my shortcomings. Yeah. They love me despite, the ways that I hurt them, the way that I walk away, the ways that I miss them or whatever it is. I also think about things in my personality that tend to be sort of a source of shame for me. Like, I wish I wasn't so loud. I wish I was more of a listener and not a talker, these things that we wish about ourselves. And I just had this realization just a few days ago that it's not despite. It's because if we live under the burden of these people love me despite all these ways that I mess up, I think that what we do is we set ourselves up for invisible striving anyway. Yes. Because we think, well, if they love me despite these things, how much more might they love me? How much more might God love me if I don't mess up as much? Maybe there's not as much to put under that despite category. And I just had this shift recently where it was like, oh, no. God, I guess he does love me despite, but really he loves me because there's not two columns and I happen to just have more in the good column. That's not how his love works. And that's not how, I think I knew that to a degree, intellectually about God's love for me, but I didn't realize how much I was putting that on the people in my life and carrying this burden of oh, they love me despite these things. And no, they love us because God loves us because there's no despite. So I'm trying to take that verbiage out of my thinking and my language and my interaction with friends, that we can be in relationship with people and it's so full and alive, but it's not a posture of, I know I'm the worst and you love me anyway. It's that's not how I want my relationships to be. I want them to be open and alive and moving towards each other, no matter what we're bringing towards each other. Yes. So I don't know. Again, you did not ask that. It just came to mind. So I'm saying it anyway. It's fine. It's fine.
Oh, no, that's amazing. Because if you're talking about God's love for us, it's almost like you could even say, he loves me, period.
Yeah, there's no qualifier.
He loves me, period. And that's that same safety that you're saying in those friendships that matter. You love me, period.
Right.
You know who I am and you love me. But trying to wrap our brains and our hearts, any of it, around the love of God and the grace that comes along with that, it's like trying to catch the full power of Niagara Falls with a spoon. It's just not.
I was going to say, isn't there some famous person? Is it like Mother Teresa or somebody who said something about catching the love of God? Is it was somebody cool. Yeah, it was somebody like Mother Teresa or C.S. Lewis or somebody who said something like that. And it's oh yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's an impossibility. It's an impossibility.
Yeah. It's trying to take a little sip of water from a fire hose. It's just, come on, people. It's going to overwhelm us. But yeah, it's safe and that's cool. I love that is your approach. And actually I feel that when I pick up your book. I feel that you are a safe friend who is approaching a topic of sifting through the things in life to get to what really matters, to make those choices and move in that direction. And so when it comes to, and I put that in a category of organization and compartmentalization, and that scares me. And it can be a scary topic and an overwhelming topic for people who are not overly organized, who are not is it Leslie Nope? What's her name?
Leslie from Parks and Rec? Yes. Leslie. Yes.
So, you know,
you don't have to have your life in binders in order to live your life well, but you can have your life in binders and live your life well. I think that's the thing that actually was the catalyst, the impetus. I never know which one of those words is right to writing this book. Is I just became so weary of seeing women look at the mixed messages of what it means to live well. It's like, okay, well, living well is you have to live really simply, but does that mean you grow your own food? Does that mean you there's so many things of what it means to live simply, but it's also like, but also you have to have chickens and you have to grow. But then what that does too, is it makes people who genuinely want to grow their own food and have chickens feel guilty that they grow their own food and have chickens. So it's kind of like there's so much comparison of what it means to live well. And that's why we're so dang tired, because we're not sure where to put our energy, because somebody cares about everything. And so if we try to care about everything and then back to the lazy genius thing and then try to be a genius about everything, it just doesn't work. And then we give up and then we're like, I can't do this anymore. I'm out. And then we sort of lean hard into the side of, I'm not going to care about anything.
Yeah.
And then you feel like, I want to be like Leslie. No, you can live well with binders. You can live well without binders. It depends on if you care about binders.
Right.
If you care about them, have them and love them and don't feel bad about them. And if you don't have them and don't love them and do something else that you care about. Like, it's okay for us to choose different things to care about.
Yeah. And I love that for those of you who are listening, The Lazy Genius Way, this book, and the message of all I see Kendra speaking to is meaningful life will look different to all of us, but she doesn't just leave it there. She helps us to determine in our hearts, what does that look like to us? And she has a method and principles, and they're full of both efficiency and perspective. And I love the structure you bring to it, but it's with so much joy and humor and that warmth and that welcomeness of, I see you, we're all different, let's get there.
Yeah. Yeah. I thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is I do feel like I wish that there was more understanding of the fact that we all do live different lives. Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of incredible books out there on organization, on making your life more simple, or trying to manage. Maybe you don't have a simple life and you can't right now. Maybe you have, like, I always think about people whose parents are aging and you have to take care of your kids and you're taking care of your parents and you're trying to work. And then someone comes to you and says, you should just simplify. And you're like, that means nothing to me.
Right.
There's nothing simple about what I'm doing. And I can't get rid of the humans that I need to take care of. Like, that's not a thing.
All these humans just pull from me. They need
just not a thing.
I know.
And so I just feel like there's a bit of a vacuum in this kind of book. That doesn't mean that there isn't stuff in other books that is super valuable and helpful. But I think that what I found was every time I would read an organization book, I would take, a couple of things from it that seemed like they were helpful to me, but they were more things to do. They were more like a hack, like, I could do it this way. And I just kind of like put together, I think I used this phrase in the book, like I just sort of MacGyvered together all the different hacks from all the different books. And like, if we put some duct tape here and a paperclip here, like maybe we can make all these things work together to make a meaningful life. And
I just realized my life with that.
You can't hack your way to a meaningful life. You just can't do it.
You can't
do it.
You can't.
And so
MacGyver probably could, but you can't.
He was my second TV crush, by the way. Childhood crush was MacGyver.
I have to stop this conversation right here and have a talk about Richard Dean Anderson because, and here's why. When I was a junior in high school, we are so off topic here, but I'm from Pittsburgh, and when I grew up, they would have these fundraising events hosted by the Pittsburgh Penguins. And one year, Richard Dean Anderson, MacGyver, was a huge hockey fan. And so he actually came for this celebrity hockey game. It was Richard Dean Anderson Anderson and Michael Keaton. And it was, anyway, so I know. So the guy I was dating, his dad was a marketing executive and they got tickets to this celebrity hockey game. So I go to the celebrity hockey game and get to go to this party afterwards where Richard Dean Anderson is literally signing autographs. And I was jacked out of my mind, Kendra, because I was a major MacGyver freak. So we're standing in line and literally, I kid you not, like Clarence Clemens and the E Street Band, like Bruce Springsteen's band was playing in the room. So it was crazy loud. So you couldn't even hear yourself think, but it was the coolest. And so I'm waiting in line to talk to Richard Dean Anderson. And I hand him my brochure from the night, which he's going to sign. And he yells, of course, through the loud music, "What's your name?" And I'm like, "Gwen." And he's like, "That's so cool. I've never heard that before." And I was like, I'm standing there feeling like the most amazing person, not only in the room, but probably in all of Pennsylvania at that point. I felt so special. And
you're the first Gwen he'd ever met.
Well, here we go. Here's the reality of it. It's about to smack you. Is he hands it back in black Sharpie on my program for the evening. It says, "To Twen, Richard Dean Anderson." Twen.
That is a fabulous story.
I promise you. But here's where I looked at it and I handed it back to him. I'm like, "No, it's Gwen with a G." And so then he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." And he changes the T to a G in that lovely black marker.
Oh my gosh. Richard Dean Anderson. I tell you what, you never feel unsafe in a crisis. Like if there's anybody that you want to put on your like apocalyptic dream team,
he's on my team.
It is MacGyver. It's MacGyver. The third one, just because we're still here and then we can get back to like other important things.
Yeah.
But it was Dean Cain. It was MacGyver. And it was also, you are not ready for this, it was super duper Chuck Norris and Walker, Texas Ranger. I don't know why. I have no idea why. I was obsessed with that show. Okay, so when I was in 7th grade, I started going to public school for the first time. And so I didn't know anybody. You know, like nobody wants to go to middle school anyway.
Exactly.
But I didn't know any of these people. It was like so hard. So it was it was like the first day of homeroom and the teacher's doing a whole like, "Okay, let's get to know each other," whatever.
Yeah.
And so we paired up and my partner's name is Katie. And we were supposed to interview each other and then do a report on the other person. So it was sort of like making it so that a 7th grader didn't have to talk about themselves, but they still were known by their class. And so one of the things that Katie asked me was, "What's your favorite TV show?" And I was like, "Walker, Texas Ranger." I didn't know, though, that was a very uncool answer. Like, I was not aware of that. And so when we got up together to stand in front of the class, and she was like, "And her favorite show is Walker, Texas Ranger?" And I looked around like, "Yeah, it is." Like, I was so proud of this answer. And then it was just crickets in the room. And like, you could obviously see like all the guys in the class, like, I am super not inviting her to the dance. Like, this is not a thing. Like, everyone just started shutting down because I said Walker, Texas Ranger. But guess what? Guess what, Gwen? I went to a sleepover at Katie's house. About 3 months later, I made her and the other cool girls watch Walker, Texas Ranger, and they were hooked.
They liked
so I feel like I win. I feel like I win that story.
I want to personally invite you to partner with the Graceologie podcast through our Patreon program. When you join our Patreon community, you'll get all kinds of bonuses like exclusive content, early access, and private hangouts with me. Patreon support helps the Graceologie podcast team keep bringing you these fun, faith-focused, grace-filled conversations. So if you like the podcast, please visit gwensmith.net/give and sign up as a member of our Patreon Graceologie community. Once again, that's gwensmith.net/give. Now let's get to the show. You know what? We do try to strive to figure things out in life. And yet what we need most is for the people around us to come alongside of us and say, "Okay, let's do something here to get to what really matters." And that's what you do with your book. Did I make that segue?
Well
okay.
done.
Praise
well
Jesus.
Done.
Okay. So one of the things that you do really present to us as a gift, truly, is that we can, what you call lazy genius anything, which makes me so happy that you use that as a verb. You so you say, well, you can lazy genius your relationships or work or your closet or your laundry. What do you mean by that?
Well, everything can be lazy geniused because everything matters or doesn't matter. So, and everything can have this applied to it where you embrace what matters, you ditch what doesn't, just get rid of what doesn't, and then you can get stuff done. Like once you get rid of what doesn't matter and you name what really does, it's not that it just frees you up to just be a hippie in your backyard and not ever get anything done. I think we sort of demonize productivity and organization and cleanliness and all of the things that sort of fit into the category of organization. And if you don't do those things well, then somehow you're not like being a good woman or something, which is just bonkers dumb and not true.
Yeah.
But like you have said, like you're not naturally organized. Well, guess what? My goal is not to make you organized.
Yeah.
Because if organization doesn't matter to you, like some people thrive more in mess than in, it's just like, it's fine. Like it doesn't really matter. And so spending the energy to try and like roll a rock uphill to do something that you're not wired to is depleting your resources for something that you are really good at and you really do want to do that fills you up, makes you feel like a person. Yeah. So anyway, but you can lazy genius anything. So is there something in your life that you want us to lazy genius in real time?
Okay.
Because we could do that. We could do that.
Yes. Okay. First, I want to qualify because it makes me feel dirty to think I'm not organized, but I'm not. But my office is disorganized. Thank you. Closet is a little bit disorganized, but I do like to structure it. And so, but my husband is uber organized. So I have to laugh because our house is actually very orderly and clean, except for my office and my portion of our closet, because that's the only places I'm actually allowed to have my space, but I know where everything is. Okay. But yes. Okay. So yes, there is a place. So let's talk, because I started, one of my big quarantine challenge, if you will, was to gut my office. I have stuff everywhere. Okay. So I'm a musician, but I'm not doing that as much anymore. So when I pulled everything out, I've got microphones, I've got mixers and effects units, and oh my gosh, here, listen to this, Kendra. I have old blank CDs and DVDs because I used to burn things all the time, burn music and burn videos and stuff. Yes. And then I've got the CD covers, and then I've got lyrics and charts. So my musician stuff is off the chain, but I'm like, okay, I might need that someday. I don't know. It's been sitting in my closet for 12 years, but there might be a day. So there's the musician stuff, and you should see that it's all on my dining room table right now. So my husband loves this because he's very neat and orderly. Then as a speaker and an author, I'm always writing and I have all these talks. And so I have lots and lots of binders of different talks. But then after I switch things around, and you'll know this because you speak too, is that I'm like, oh, well, I need to edit that. And so I'll take it out, but think there might be something I need to get from that another time. So I've got all of the old talks and binders and then there's the merchandise stuff. So I've got some odds and ends of things that have been on my resource tables in years past at events when I'm speaking. Then there's the office supplies, because I'm a freak about colored pens. I think they're the best thing. They're one of God's gifts to people. I don't know if you're with me, but colored pens rock my world, and I love them, and I have ridiculous amounts. And then there's the books as a podcaster. My glory. So I'm just trying to find a system, but right now I've got half of it done. I've started, but it's not good enough because my dining room table has now become the keeper of my mess. So help me. Help, Kendra, help.
Sure. Well, okay. So there are a couple things. Let's pray. Oh, goodness gracious. All right. So here are a couple thoughts. So this is how you lazy genius anything. It's the book, The Lazy Genius Way. It has 13 principles in it that you can use to apply. I kind of call it like the Swiss Army knife of life. Like you can use any combination of these principles to kind of like bring to light what matters and what doesn't in any situation. Okay. So I feel like the first thing that comes to mind for you with this situation is I think it's principle 4, live in the season. Live in your season. Now, some of the things in that chapter are about the actual seasons, like spring, summer, fall, winter, etc. Yeah. But the other is like stage of life and where you are. And I think what we tend to do is we try and cram our entire life and the collection of seasons, the sequence of seasons and life stages that we go through. And we're not very good as people of letting those seasons go. Because like you said, you're like, well, maybe I haven't done anything with it in 12 years, but maybe there will be a season that was a season.
Yeah.
But maybe there will be a future season, but you don't know that yet. And also because if you said that you have a strong wing 7 in the Enneagram, you're like super like, what's next? What's next? What's next?
Totally.
And you want to be prepared for what's next.
Yes.
Well, so just from a philosophical standpoint, maybe this is not the season to have an office that is full of music equipment.
Right.
That's just the first place to start. Like maybe if that's not really part of your work right now, maybe you don't have all of that stuff in there.
Yeah. I mean, it is part of my work where I'm still leading worship at events and concerts and stuff like that, but I don't need a mixer. I don't need 2 wireless microphones.
Sure.
I don't need to be burning CDs anymore.
Yes. Which leads us to Principle 10. This is the next one that I would say, and that is to essentialize. What you need to do, I take that back. You don't need to do anything, Gwen. This is your life. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm telling you what you could do, but I'm not telling you what you need to do. What you could do is to apply the principle of essentializing we'll just start with the music stuff.
Okay.
So to look at the big pile, because we tend to be kind of all or nothing with stuff. We're just like, well, do I need all this music stuff? And you leave yourself with the answer of yes or no.
Right.
And neither of those answers are actually helpful right now. So instead, because it's not no, you still need some stuff, but do you need it all? No, you don't. So to look at like what is essential for my life right now, for the season that I'm in, what is essential? It is a microphone. It's the DI box for the guitar. It's the hookup for it's whatever it is. What do I need that is essential for this season of life? Set that aside, look at everything that is remaining, and then you can make the choice. You can say, okay, do I get rid of this stuff or do I keep this stuff? That's your first question. Do I get rid of it or do I keep it? And it could be that you're like, I want to keep it. I'm not ready to get rid of it. Like,
Yes, pretty much most of the time, but go ahead.
Yes. And so if you have I feel like we tend to demonize putting things away in storage a little bit. And sometimes for some of us who are just like, we have like really strong emotional attachments, we don't want to get rid of things that once mattered. It's really hard. It's really hard to get rid of things. And most of organizational voices tell you to still get rid of it. Like, it doesn't matter anymore. You're going to turn into a hoarder. Right. And you're like, well, no, I'm not. It's just one box. Can I keep it? Like, it just feels really sad. And I don't want to be the person to tell you to get rid of it. So what you can do is pull out what is essential, maybe pack up the rest of it and put it in an attic or put it in a garage or put it away, get it out of because there's another principle that's put everything in its place.
Yes.
All of that extra music equipment, equipment, its best place is not your office, is my guess. Okay. Otherwise, this would not be an issue for
legit.
You, right?
That's legit.
So to move it out of the office, keep what is essential. And honestly, I think that practice could actually be good for all the categories, for the books, for the CDs. It's just like, what is essential? This is not all or nothing. And you don't have to burn it at the end. Yes. You can be like, I'm going to put this away. One thing I like to do too, and this might be a little bit too on the nose, but one thing I like to do is set a calendar reminder. I use Google Calendar, but you could do it for whatever. And honestly go like 6 months ahead, a year ahead, and put just like a little reminder on a date in 6 months or a year and be like, hey, have you opened that box that you put in the attic? If you haven't opened it, go ahead and sell it or go ahead and donate it somewhere. Just give yourself time to see if it does matter. And then if you don't open it, you're like, oh, that thing that I put away that I haven't looked at, that I haven't thought about in a year, I don't think I really need it. It's like you're giving yourself a much longer runway to decide if it's worth keeping or not without feeling gross and guilty about it.
I love that so much.
Yeah. And then you don't have to think about it. Another principle is decide once. You're deciding once when you're going to decide whether or not you're going to get rid of your stuff. And you're like, I'm putting it on the calendar this date in a year.
I love it.
Whatever. So that would be my perspective on that. Yay. How do you feel after some of those words? What are you thinking?
Oh my gosh, you are going so Dr. Phil on me. Okay. I feel like that's really great sage advice. So I'm excited to try that. Here is where my next question is. I do feel, and I've made a decision. I don't need to keep all of these CDs and DVDs. I'm like tons. I used to buy the stacks of 100, just to have them. But here, so I have all of these CDs, DVDs that are unburned and in good shape, and these CD covers and stuff that can be used by anyone, but just not me. And I know I don't need them. There might be people that could. So that's what paralyzes me. And that's why they're still sitting on the dining room table, because I know I don't want to throw them away because they're still useful. And for me, I feel like that would be wasteful. But then I'm like, but Goodwill's not open right now. But does anyone really even want these? And then who should be their owner? I don't know.
It sounds like you're putting a lot of responsibility on yourself on the origin story of these CDs and DVDs. It's a lot of pressure, Gwen. It's a lot of pressure.
It's true.
Well, I really resonate with that, because there is sort of a desire that a lot of people have to make the best choice.
Yes.
In any scenario. And so you're like, well, I want to send these DVDs and CDs to the best place.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes it's a really good reminder that there isn't always a best, that there's not a spectrum of right and wrong in some decisions. It's just a decision. And we sort of try to put morality on things. And I'm not saying you think that you're like a good person or a bad person if you send the CDs to the wrong place, but we do put a lot of pressure on ourselves for making the right call about something that doesn't have a right call.
Yeah. And
it doesn't have a right call.
Yeah. And we're taught to be good stewards of what we've been entrusted with. And so that's a very valid thing for us to do. We do have to be responsible. So that's probably where I probably take it a little too far. So,
well, and there's also the question of, I always think about this in terms of a swap of energy, like how much energy, and this could be rhetorical, but like how much energy are you spending, like when you walk into your office, or when you get into the mindset of, I need to do something about this office, like when you have a moment of pause and you look around, how much energy are you spending sort of like spinning your wheels, trying to figure out the best way to go about this that is depleting your resources from things that matter to you, like actually making the music or actually writing the thing.
Yeah.
I think we don't realize how much energy we're spending wondering and guessing and evaluating and all these things. And again, we're so tired at the end of the day. And we're like, why am I so tired? All I've done is like make lunches and talk to tiny humans. Or all I've done is, whatever, like fill in the blank. But I think that's why, because we sort of like have this constant reel going of do the right thing, make the best choice.
Yeah.
Make a good call here. And it takes so much more out of us than I think we really realize.
Yeah.
So maybe sometimes naming what we are exchanging our spinning for.
Yeah. I think that's huge, actually.
Can help devalue the spinning itself, where it's like, oh, this doesn't matter as much as I think it does.
You know what?
Like,
you just nailed it for me. I'm not even kidding. Breakthrough right here on Graceologie.
Oh, good. Tell me. Say the words.
Truly, because you're right. I literally have had that stuff sitting on my dining room table and I'm shifting things around and everything. I just need to get rid of it. There's certain things I need to keep and I can pack up and put them in a tote and put them in my attic. And then I could set the calendar reminder for 12 months from now. And then if at that point I don't feel like I really need that effects unit or the mixing board, I can donate them to a local church or to my church, or I don't even know if they need that, or take it to Goodwill. I don't know, but it's freeing and I'm super excited. So thank you so much.
Well, I'm so glad. And youth groups always get left over. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I was a high school youth group volunteer for almost 10 years. And we got all of the leftover sad parts from, all the rest of the church, which is totally fine. But it's like, there are definitely ministries. And you think about like just even groups that are going to like retirement homes and just different things where you need like a little mobile unit and there's not a budget for those smaller groups and churches that to get that stuff. So now, again, I'm not trying to pile on the right reason to do this, but there are people who probably would, if you were just to donate to your church and say, can anybody use this stuff?
Yeah.
And if they say no, then you can throw it away or you can take it to Goodwill or whatever it is. So
I love that. Oh, I'm super excited. Thank you for lazy geniusing me in my situation. And I think that, just thinking about it from that perspective is extraordinarily helpful. And I am going to continue to go back through those 13 different steps, because I think that they're practical. And then you even go deeper in terms of really specific. Like I know that one of them is decide once, which I'm not good at. My inbox, oh gosh, you could have a whole therapy session with me here, Kendra, because you say limit your decision making the choice once and never again. I read it and I'm like, ooh, that's going to take 2 minutes. I can't do that now. Click. And then I put mark as unread. And so my inbox is ridiculous too. So I need to go through your book personally on the daily. But no, I know it's really valuable. And so I do subscribe to Lazy Genius Way, and I'm looking forward to implementing some of your strategies, and I'm excited about them. And I know that there's listeners here who are going, oh my goodness, like those are great questions. I need to be asking those to myself as well. So can you go ahead and list off, for the sake of my listening community, because they're not looking at the book like me, can you tell us the 13 different principles that you speak to in the book?
Yeah. So the principles are, and I'll just run through them to give like a quick sentence. But yeah, the first one is to decide once. Basically, we are making too many decisions too often, and there are lots of things that you can decide one time. And the chapter is full of examples of things that you can decide one time and never again. Principle number 2 is to start small. We think that everything has to be built big. And it super doesn't, because big machines just like, they just fall apart. Like do one small thing. It's all fine. Number 3 is to ask the magic question, which is, what can I do now to make things easier later? And there are tons of practical things in that.
Yes. Chop your vegetables.
Yes. Chop your vegetables. Number 4 is to live in the season, which we kind of already talked about. 5 is about building the right routines, not building routines, building the right routines for you as a human and what matters to you. Yeah. Set house rules. I love the house rules chapter because it's super, super practical about things that matter in your own home. 7 is to put everything in its place. That can mean your stuff. That could also mean your thinking patterns. There's a lot in that one as well. Let people in to your home, to your life, around your table, into your mess, because we can't do things without community, which I feel like we all have learned that in ways we never thought possible because of the situation that we've been in for the recent weeks. Yeah. Batch it, which is kind of it's a very practical chapter about doing kind of the same thing all at once, sort of like almost like assembly lining your life in certain places. Some things can't be assembly lined. Some things can't be batched, but some things really can really make a difference. Essentialize your life, which we talked about. Go in the right order. There are a lot of things. You might be doing the right things, but you're doing them maybe not in a great order, which is sort of affecting that result. 12 is to schedule rest. Schedule it. Lots of examples of what that means for different people. And then the third one is to be kind to yourself, because we are not very good at that. I think. But again, like, so certain principles are a little bit more philosophical, and then some are way more practical. But there are, even in the philosophical chapters, there are really practical examples and questions and ways that you can implement those things into your own life, specific to whatever situation it is. So that's why I feel like you can lazy genius anything, because every single one of these principles, or at least one of these principles, will apply to any situation in your life. Anything. If you have the desire to not hack your way to a meaningful life anymore, if you want to be soulful and efficient at the same time, like if you do want to get things done, but you don't want to just check off stuff for the sake of it, or check off what everyone is telling you to check off, this is about giving you not a new list of things to do, but it's giving you a new way to see. It's seeing your life, seeing how you can apply these principles to your life, to you said this in the beginning, that life matters. Yeah. And we don't really let ourselves let life matter in the richest way that we really want to, because we're spending our energy on things that don't matter. So that's the whole point of this book. Is I really do want it to impact people's like schedules and how they go through their day and do all of these practical things and tackle their task list. And I mean, those are important because we all have things to do. Yeah. But the thing that I want more than that, and I believe can happen the more people decide to live the lazy genius way, is that we stop comparing our lives to other people's lives, and we live our own lives so wholeheartedly, and we let other people live their lives so wholeheartedly, and we don't look down at ourselves for not measuring up. There's no more up and down. They're just people. We're just people trying to live our lives, and we're making it harder on ourselves by trying to live other people's lives. So the whole book is to help you live your life your way, embrace what matters, ditch what doesn't, and also get stuff done.
I love it. I love it. That is so powerful. And not only that, but you're going to have a ton of fun reading it with major laugh out loud moments because Kendra is hilarious. And
I'm so glad you think it's funny.
I really do.
It's hard to make chicken funny. It's kind of hard to do.
Speaking of chicken, speaking of chicken, I am going to put a link to your Change Your Life chicken recipe because I'm like I was like 500 degrees. What? Okay. So we don't even have time. Insane. I know. We don't even have time for that, but just know that on the show notes page, there's going to be an awesome recipe from Kendra for what she calls Change Your Life chicken. And I cannot wait to try that recipe because I'm convinced it is going to change my life. So I'm excited.
It's pretty great. It's pretty great. And you should also have you tried Change Your Life shawarma? That's a new one.
No.
I'm telling you, I am now, you know how it was like chicken soup for the soul, chicken soup for the teenage soul, chicken soup. I'm now like the Change Your Life, all the different chickens. Like that's just my life now, is changing all the chicken, which is great. I'm here for it. It's fine.
Oh, I love that. Okay. Everything about that. Well, I do believe that today has been a blessing for every single one of my listeners. And I'm sure that they're thinking of a whole bunch of areas in their lives that these things could apply to. But ultimately, the best way for us to figure that out is to ask for the Lord to lead us in determining what really should matter to us. So I would just love if you would just take a moment as we complete our time together and just take us to the Lord in prayer about all of these things.
Father God, you are so good. You love us so deeply. You don't love us despite. You just love us. And we're so grateful. As we leave this time, Lord, I just ask that you would remind every single person listening that you would make them feel like this is specifically for them, and remind them that they are fearfully and wonderfully made, that you have hemmed her in behind and before, that your thoughts for her are impossible to count, that you love her with a depth of love that none of us can even come close to understanding. We're so grateful, God, for the freedom of this life that you have given us. And I ask that you would help us release our own expectations of what that is supposed to look like, and instead live in the fullness of your Spirit and how you have uniquely made each one of us. You have given us desires and giftings and hopes and dreams that are small and big, and we don't have to compare them to other people's. That you have made us specifically to do this work, to live this life, to be loved by you, and to love others in the unique expression that you have given each of us through your Holy Spirit. So I just thank you for that gift and that freedom, and that we would embrace that as the wholehearted life that we want to live, and not get bogged down by things that are distracting us from who you have really made us to be, that we can embrace and live out in a full way. So we thank you so much for this time and for your presence. Thank you for our friend Jesus, and in his name, amen.
Amen. The book is The Lazy Genius Way, and my guest has been Kendra Adachi. Kendra, oh my goodness, it was so amazing to have you on the show today. I'm so grateful. Can you tell my listeners the best place to connect with you online?
Absolutely. The best place is to join my newsletter, thelazygeniuscollective.com/join. Nobody misses anything. If you're on that mailing list, you don't miss a thing of anything that comes from the podcast or the blog or Instagram or any of it. So that is definitely that's the catch-all spot. So I'd love to have you join me there.
Absolutely perfect. And I'll have a link to that on the show notes as well. So once again, it's been awesome to have you on Graceologie podcast. So thank you so much, Kendra. Blessings to you.
Thanks, Gwen.
Okay, do you not love her? Love her. Be sure to visit Kendra online and connect with her on social media. As always, today's show is edited by Chad Shuping. If your church hosts women's events, or if you have any questions, comments, or topic suggestions, I love hearing from you. Send me a message or a speaking inquiry right from my website at gwensmith.net. All of the links and the show notes from today's episode can be found at gwensmith.net/Graceologie. That's gwensmith.net/Graceologie. Hey, if you're one of my Graceologie girls, be sure to join our Patreon community. When you support the show, you get exclusive content, early access, behind-the-scenes fun, and even private hangouts with me. Learn more by visiting gwensmith.net/give. That's gwensmith.net/give. Thanks so much for joining me today. I'll be back soon with another episode, but until then, if you haven't already subscribed, would you open up your podcast app right now and press that subscribe button? Subscribing to the podcast guarantees that you will not miss a thing. And be sure to connect with me on social media as well. I'm at Gwen Smith Music on every platform, and especially love hanging out on Instagram in the stories. And the show is at Graceologie with an IE on every platform too. Now get out there and have a beautiful, grace-filled day.